Awesome. Welcome back into another installment of the 94 podcast. I'm Brooke Edel, joined here by Mike Max, and also my co-host Jim Bushy, live from Green Bay in the studios. How you doing, gentlemen? Thank you again, Mike, for gracing us with your presence.
Good to be here. Fun to be here.
Awesome. Jim, how you doing?
Just driving to work today, looking at all the people enjoying their nice warm day outside. I'm nice inside, getting my AC. I'm doing good. Getting my vitamin E, the electric lights.
Awesome. Let's talk about a couple things here real quick. Mike, just want to hear a little bit about your experience in just the Minnesota sports scene, and you working a lot of these local teams. What's the, one team that you had a really special connection with covering them?
I don't know if it's special connection because that kind of flows based on who's winning at that time and who you end up kind of relating to. Baseball teams are the easiest ones to relate to because you go in there and they get 162 games. They give you a lot of content. They're at home for 81 dates. There's a pace to batting practice and whatnot where you can establish relationships in the clubhouse. So baseball is a nice place to kind of ingratiate yourself, get backstories, find out what makes somebody tick, just because of the schedule lends itself to that. Content-wise, the best thing to cover is the NFL. There's 53-man roster. Then you got 22 coaches. So now you're at 75, and another 6 to 10 management types that are all potential stories. So I look for the volume of stories, of good stories that I can get. And in a football, if the star wide receiver doesn't want to talk that day, that's okay because people are still interested in the middle linebacker or the kicker or the defensive tackle. You can always find a good story in a football locker room because there's just so many people that are involved in it, and there's so much interest in football that becomes the easiest to cover of all of them. Probably the most difficult for the NBA only because you've got a 15-man roster, and really people want to hear from about 4 or 5 guys, and so they get inundated all the time, and it's difficult because they're saying the same thing all the time, and everybody wants to talk to the same people all the time. Like the Timberwolves, for example, this past year, I found they're really easy to work with. It's just that it's hard to get exclusivity, special stories, all those things. That when they manage the schedules of the top players so much that you can't get those same relationships that you can in baseball and sometimes football.
Okay, absolutely. Do you find that the same with university, like college?
That's changed over the years. You used to have a lot more access, like over to university and whatnot, and now it's much more scheduled. In other words, there's a press conference. These people are available. If you want to do a special interview with somebody, you need to seek us, send in a request form, all those things. It didn't used to be like that. But what happened was with the advent of the internet and bloggers and podcasters and all the things that make up now a much bigger media, they have a tough time discerning. So they have to really have restrictions and keep their foot on the pulse. Now that's changed again, I should add, because this is kind of a little known fact, I think, for a lot of people in the media. Now that you have NIL money and people are responsible for marketing themselves, really the university has no handcuffs on these people, except for when they have to be at practice at the game. So I can go directly now to players or athletes and say, I would like, and they can't prohibit that because then they'd be getting in the way of a potential marketing opportunity for a student athlete. So we'll see how this plays out. It's just kind of the infancy stages of us figuring it out. But it used to be, you had to go through the university, which you still can for an interview. But now really, in theory, you can go to anybody you want because you can't deny those student athletes the opportunity to try to, even though you're not paying them to do an interview, they may look at this as a marketing opportunity.
Exactly. Okay, so it is changed, just the avenues, and it's almost like an omni-channel of like you have a lot of green lights and you get some yellow lights,
Yep.
but for the most part, it's a little bit more free-flowing than it has been in the past.
Well, yeah, and for example, now some of these people that are their handlers, let's say they've got an event coming up where some Gopher football player is going to be. Well, they want you out there. They want you doing interviews with them. The handler, meaning that if it's Buffalo Wild Wings or whoever it is, they want you to come out and put your cameras out there. They want you to interview these people. So that game has changed. Now there's only a limited amount of college athletes that would categorically fit under there where they'd have value to you or value to a sponsor that they would want them to make an appearance and you'd want to do an interview. But it is in play now the same way professional athletes are.
Absolutely. Before we get on to the next topic, high school sports. I know that that's a big thing, especially with Minnesota being a hotbed for a lot of talent, especially basketball, hockey. We're seeing football too.
Yeah, I love covering high school sports. And again, you get back to volume, right? You got 400 and some schools in the state all carrying 10 sports. Do the math. There's going to be some good stories out there. But I love the unique stories, not just the star, not just the one that's going to be the 5-star recruit, but there's always some interesting stories underneath that. And that's what I love about the high school is that you can find that. And it's really satisfying and gratifying when you can say, call attention to a coach that deserves it, that's done all the right things in his or her tenure as a coach, and you can spotlight them. Or we did a story a couple of weeks ago on he does the PA in Belle Plaine, Minnesota, and he's got muscular dystrophy.
Okay.
And so he couldn't play baseball anymore. He couldn't walk anymore. His brother's the center fielder on the team. He just wanted to be part of the team. So we go out and do a story like that. That's incredibly gratifying.
Absolutely.
To be able to spotlight people who are, living life sometimes through tough circumstances, sometimes overcoming tough circumstances, but people that the public can relate to, and you find a lot of that at the high school level.
Absolutely. And right now you're in the thick of baseball season.
Yeah.
You got softball as
Yep.
well. A lot of these summer sports
Yep.
are ongoing. What's one thing you out in Belle Plaine, correct?
Yeah.
The love of the game. Like, what does the love of the game mean for these players?
Well, you only get for most of them, it's the only time they're ever going to play organized with an umpire and somebody chalking the lines for them. So it means a lot to all those high school kids that make it to the varsity level or whatever level you play at JV. It's the last time for many that you're going to get to play an organized game like that, where they keep stats and they write about it in the paper, and you're kind of on the record. You can go play intramurals, you can do all those things, but it's not the same as when it's official, when it counts, when somebody can look up your numbers. And then it's the time when you're with your buddies. I mean, the relationships you form in that dugout or in that locker room. I'm 61 years old. Every year I go to Colorado with 5 of my high school buddies. Why? Well, we all played sports together, and I trust them more than I trust anybody, because they were there. They know me before anybody knew me,
True.
And so you're forging those relationships. And at the time when you're playing, you're thinking it's about wins and losses and how far can we go? Can we get to state? All those things. Important. But what you'll find out as time goes on is it sets you up in different ways for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. Jim, we turn to you. I know we've been kind of going on rapid questions here, but feel free to fire off some questions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of my questions I came to my mind is, when you're doing these stories, is there a story that sticks out to you that really impact the player and it's impact the community? And do you have a story that you've done or you've heard that you sat down and you took back, wow, this story is amazing. It needs to get told. Finding a story, it's like a diamond in the rough. You don't expect it, and it was just one of those big stories that took you back. Wow.
Yeah, I think there's 2 categories to that. One is when you get a big name to sit down with you because there's such interest in that. And for me, that would be, I've had a chance to interview Michael Jordan one-on-one 3 times. And that ain't easy getting that one, And so to sit down with him and to feel his presence where he was committed to the interview and doing it well. And he's talking about his lifetime story, and he's talking about different things that motivated him. And it was a side, I didn't know him, but to see how seriously and professional he was about doing a good job at an interview and conveying who he was through that interview was really interesting to me. So that categorically, that's kind of one, interviewing Reggie Jackson, interviewing John Wooden, Bobby Knight, people like that I've had a chance to interview, gets one category because people will watch that because of who they are. The other one, as you alluded to, is, hey, that story just said, those are endless and they are so much fun. I mentioned the Belle Plaine. A few weeks ago, we did a story on, this guy's a priest, and he's 79 years old. He's a priest, still preaches on Sunday. Oh, yeah. He's legally blind, hasn't driven a car for 26 years. Oh, yeah. He barefoot water skis in the summer, and he downhill skis in the western part of the United States in the winter. And he works out and trains 2 to 3 times a week with a personal trainer. And everybody loves him at the church. And to be preaching at 79 years old is one thing. To also be a barefoot water skier while you're legally blind, that story really resonated with me. I mean, that was one of those where you go, wow. We did a story last night on a 73-year-old tennis player. That was part of it. He's playing in a national tournament, but his son is the director of the U.S. Open. They both from Minnesota, from Rochester, both went to Gustavus, and he played the Pro Tour for a while, Eric, and now has moved himself up, and he's the acting director of the U.S. Open in Flushing Meadows, New York. And you go, how does this happen? These stories are really fun to tell like that. And I've always said that the best stories are when you take a big name and then you show people something they didn't know about them because they're already interested in them, right? Because they know the name. But now if you can take them a place that they've never gone before with this person, or you're going, oh my gosh, I didn't know that about him. I'd go hunting with Bud Grant, and he'd talk about different things in nature and how he perceived it. And it was just different. When Kirby Puckett, we did a documentary on, and we went back to his where he grew up on the south side of Chicago, and it was unbelievable. And to be able to bring people, this is where he came from. Here's the community college that he went to. Here's the coach of his community college. Things, I thought I knew Kirby pretty well, but it was like this unveiled itself to me. You go, he got out of this neighborhood and made it to the big leagues. That's unbelievable. They wouldn't let us go into the neighborhood without police escort. That was the
Southside Chicago.
Southside Chicago, Robert Taylor Holmes.
Yeah.
That was the status of the neighborhood. Because when I called there, I said, anything we know about? And they said, yeah, you need to come right to the station first because you're not going in there. We will go with you, and you can get the video that you want, and then we'll get you out of there. Those kinds of things, you go, wow. I thought I knew. I'd heard he's from Chicago, Southside Chicago, all those things. And you go, when you look at it and you see it, you go, wow, that's a lot that you had to go through to get to the big leagues, and now you have an even more appreciation. So I think, to your original point, those are the two types of stories that I like the best, and the ones, as you said it best, those one where you go, hey, this story just has to be told, it has to get out there.
I got no more questions right now, but I think that's I was going to say this. Really, all these people, Michael Jordan. Do you have a white whale anymore, or do you meet your white whale through an interview? Or do you see?
So this question, and I get asked that a lot, and I would say, and you guys understand this. Doing an interview with somebody is one thing.
Yeah. Doing
an interview that you want to do with somebody is another. In other words, big names come through town, right? I can get a couple questions with LeBron James when he comes through town, or when Shaquille used to come through with Kobe. I interviewed those guys, but it was about the game, right? It was about the upcoming game. It was about those kinds of things. So to your point, it's about, to me, the white whale is can you sit down with somebody and take them anywhere you want to go, as opposed to just, hey, how are you going to defend Anthony Edwards tonight? Those kinds of things. Yeah. That's an interview, but it's not the interview that I want to do. Years ago, I got a call, and they said, there's this up-and-coming golfer. He's going to be out, blah, blah, blah. Do you want to come out and interview him? I can get you one-on-one. The guy's name was Tiger Woods. I said, no, I'm busy on Saturday, but I'm sure I'll catch up to him again. Well, I never did, but my point being, like, if I could sit down with Tiger Woods and do the interview, right? How did you end up in these places that you've ended up? How do you explain what's happened to you when you're driving? How do you explain that? Do you have demons inside you that that people aren't aware of, that because we all assume that you've got it all those things? That kind of an interview with someone like that, if you had kind of a no holds bar and you could do the real interview, would be great. And I think, above and beyond that, I've always thought it would be fun to interview any former president, and say, how do you sleep at night, right? When you know that you might get a call at 3 a.m. saying there's something going on the other side of the world, and you got to make a decision on it. Now, I always just thought it'd be fascinating to get somebody like that where you can go unfiltered and how do you feel when somebody dies on your watch? How do you all those things that I just wonder how you live with that and how you make decisions at that level. I would love to have somebody take me down that road. So if I ever got a chance to interview a former president, that would be it.
All right, any former president's listening to.
Yeah, if you're out there.
Mike Matz.
Yeah, this is cable. It goes a long way. Now you can get it on the internet too, right?
Yep.
YouTube, yep.
Yep. On 94 Podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe. That's awesome. All right. That's great topics there in regards to like the interviews. But let me just backtrack real quick. You said that you interviewed Michael Jordan 3 times. Mm-hmm. Can you recount those 3 separate times?
Yep. First time was the old Met Center before your time, probably. Okay. There was not a Timberwolves team here. Okay. So they're trying to get energy and interest built in the Twin Cities so that they get an expansion team. Eventually, obviously, they did the Timberwolves. So there's a preseason exhibition game. The Chicago Bulls were playing, I think, San Antonio. Doesn't matter. Okay. Doug Collins is the coach of Chicago. He and Michael Jordan have a fight in practice. He throws him out of practice. Okay. So by the time they get wind of this in the media, it's a big story in Chicago. So they call Minneapolis. They go, hey, they're playing there tonight. Is there any way you can send somebody out to interview Michael Jordan and ask him what happened about this argument that he had, this fight that he had with the coach, that he got thrown out of practice? Well, I was the low man on the totem pole, and Jordan was just becoming Jordan. And they said, can you go do that? It wasn't even for us. It was for Chicago. Okay. So I go into this first time I've been in the NBA locker room. Artis Gilmore's in there. He's 7'3". All these guys, and they're huge, right? And Jordan's sitting there with headphones like we got, his back turned to us, and I got to go, okay. I got to ask, right? So I got tapped on the shoulder, introduce myself, say, this is why I'm here, blah, blah, blah. He says, yeah, no problem. Let's go.
Yep.
And he was so gracious about it then. That was the first time, and that was specific to what had happened with he and Doug Collins. He's very articulate about it. The next time was he was in town for a fundraiser, and it was out at a country club. And Trent Tucker was his teammate in Chicago. And Trent said, if you come on out, we're doing this turn, and I can get you Jordan. I said, really? You can get me Jordan? Really?
Trent Tucker?
Tucker and Jordan are good friends.
Yep.
So he sat down with us. And at that time, Garnett was playing for the Timberwolves. So we talked a lot about Garnett and what he's up against as a superstar and what's in front of him. And I remember him saying, he goes, here's the thing that all young players need to know. Just play the game. Play it as well as you can. If you're really good, the endorsements are going to come in wheelbarrows. You don't have to worry about that. Just worry about your game. Don't get ahead of yourself into how you're going to market yourself, what you're going to be. Play the game really well. Everything else will take care of itself. And I remember that was my takeaway from that. And then the third time was at a different golf tournament that he was playing in. And we sat down by a fire, and I remember talking to him about the takeaway was, and I use this when I do a lot of speaking, and I use this story. He said that it wasn't about his talent that got him off the playground. It was about his parents had instilled in him long before he knew he was going to be a great basketball player, that there were 2 things he had to own: his attitude and his effort. And he had complete control over both. And he said, my parents instilled in that. I ended up being gifted in basketball, but it was because I took care of my attitude and my effort, which a lot of people choose not to.
Right.
That's why I got to where I am. And there's a lot of guys with my talent on playgrounds that never got off the playgrounds, not because they weren't good enough, because they didn't own what they could focus. They didn't focus on what they could control, their attitude and their effort. And I thought that's a great takeaway.
Absolutely great takeaway. Control the controllables.
Yep.
I'll continue here. Something just actually got signed into in Florida. It's called the Teddy Bridgewater Act.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about.
Well, Bridgewater was coaching down there, the former Viking quarterback.
Exactly.
And he was helping out some players financially.
Financially, yeah.
He needed help. And it was all from the heart. It wasn't. Right. He wasn't getting a competitive advantage. No. He wasn't buying players.
Exactly.
And so he got in trouble for it. And then when it came out, people looked at it and said, well, this is ridiculous. He was trying to help kids. Yep. He wasn't trying to He wasn't trying to circumvent or get some advantage, some competitive advantage here. And so because of that, they've rewritten it down there because of Teddy Bridgewater and what he did. And it was kind of it's really a good story, right?
It's a feel-good story.
Yeah, I did it from the heart. I wasn't doing it because I was doing it because the kids needed it.
Right.
And it was a terrific story that takes up legs, and it's the kind of thing that you like to see that, because that means going forward, coaches and players, and certainly he's in a different financial position because of all the time he spent in the NFL, but they can look at things differently. They can think about that. Yeah, I can help this kid. Yeah, I can do something. There's a way to do it. And so I thought that was a terrific story.
Oh, absolutely. Like the impact that he's having on these kids' lives, and also just you just don't know that entire community is changing.
Right. Yeah. And now you're inspiring the next generation to do the same, right? It's not just about Teddy Bridgewater. It's about he does this for his players. Of those players in 10, 20 years, who knows which one of those is going to be in a good position and say, you know what? Coach did it for me, right? Coach did it for me. I owe it to somebody else. So those things have legs. And
it has legs.
Yeah, and it's just a wonderful story when you see those.
Absolutely. Real quick, I know we're kind of running low on time here with you, Mike. Just want to ask you what's your thoughts on the Vikings coming up? I know we're talking football, but what do you think of the draft, and what do you think the outlook is with Kevin O'Connell and possibly a new GM coming in?
Yeah, Caleb Banks, we don't know about. He's got the foot, could be a player, maybe not. Their first round pick. Beyond that, they got some depth in the secondary, etc. But I always look at it like you don't count on the rookies, right? When they come in, just assume that they're not going to contribute much, or they're just going to be okay. So you see, I always work from there. So now you get into this team, you say, who'd they sign? What do they got? Offensive line should be serviceable. They moved Brandel to center. They've got Jackson. They've got the two big tackles, Darisaw and O'Neal. That's pretty good when you're if you're healthy, right? Tight end, you're good with T.J. Hawkinson, and you've got the two wideouts with Addison and Jefferson that you're good there. Running back, I still don't feel like they've solved it. Aaron Jones is a great guy, great leader, great competitor. I don't know that what he's got left in the tank. Then you got Mason, not bad, but you don't have a big time running back sitting there. So now, and then you get into the question everybody wants to ask about, obviously with J.J. McCarthy and Kyler Murray.
Right.
And that'll just play itself out. I don't think about that much because they'll give the reps to both guys.
Sure.
And the mini camps.
OTAs, right.
There's no shortage of opportunities for these guys to prove themselves because they have so many practices, so many film sessions, all those things. One of those two will emerge. And I don't think they're going to give this to Kyler Murray. I think if J.J. McCarthy is where they thought he could be and they haven't given up on that, he still could be the guy. He's an incredibly smart kid. He's got a lot of people skills. He's an interesting story, getting back to what we talked about earlier. And I've talked to him about this, but he has ADHD. And so do I.
Okay.
So do a lot of people.
Yeah, so do a lot of people.
But and that's a gift in a lot of ways.
It is
right?
a gift, yeah.
Because you can focus when everything's going crazy around you. Because you can just hone in. It could be a detriment sometimes too because you overthink things and things like that. So I personally, I think J.J. McCarthy, aside from getting injured a lot, but let's just say he stays healthy, I think if he can manage that part, because when he gets to that point where he got to with Michigan, where he felt in complete control of the game, he says national championship. He said that didn't bother me at all.
Right.
Guys are flying around doing it because I'm in control.
Yeah.
Because he had his ADHD in
Yes.
control. And I think that's probably not reported on enough. I do because I relate to it more.
Sure.
But I think that's assuming physically he stays healthy. I think if he gets control and that confidence, if you have ADHD, you go to a higher level.
Yeah.
Once you're comfortable.
Right.
When you're not comfortable, you go to a lower level,
Sure,
right?
sure.
You can't fake it.
Right.
Because you overthink things, like I said, and all those things. But when you get it and you believe in yourself, then all you want to do is let me know what time the game starts, right?
Right.
I got this stuff. This is where I'm comfortable,
Right. Right.
I might not be comfortable. Like he and I have talked about this,
Yeah.
The last place he would want to be is sitting at home all day.
Okay.
Or sitting in a classroom for 3 hours. They can't do it.
Can't do it.
No, if I'm not
Too much
interested,
going
I'm gone, man.
Yeah, it's like he's out.
Yeah,
Check it out.
and that's where I am. So I relate to that. But you give me something I'm interested in and focused on, I can focus all day. I can do it all day. And so if he gets to that point, because he's got good feet, he's got a good arm, He's smart enough. He could do some good things. So I still believe that he has a chance to be a really good quarterback.
Okay, JJ McCarthy. I think it is too soon to write him off. I don't. I know there's a lot of Vikings fans where they're just like, hey, let's move on to the next quarterback.
And confidence, right? I mean, look at Royce Lewis, what he's going through with the Twins.
Absolutely.
Number one pick, right? Can't miss. Oh, then he starts getting injured. Then you go, well, whenever he's healthy, he's just fine. So if we can just keep him healthy.
Yep.
Then they got him relatively healthy, and he hit 163. I've never seen somebody their prime get sent down like that. I talked to Royce the other day over in St. Paul, and he's reeling, man. He's feeling it for the first time. You know, his baseball life is flashing in front of him.
Sure.
And he's got to figure out how to get it back.
Exactly.
That's a tough thing. Now, if he starts hitting, everything takes care of itself, right?
For sure.
But it's so much easier said than done. You know, you got to figure it out. You got to at this time when you don't want, the last thing you are is relaxed because you're feeling all the tension. And what do you need to do to be successful? You need to relax.
You need to relax.
Yeah, and yet it's the hardest thing to do because how can you relax when you got a multi-million-dollar career sitting out here, right?
Absolutely.
And so I feel for him, but I guess that's what makes my job interesting is the J.J. McCarthy's and the Royce Lewis. Nothing's guaranteed. There's always surprises. Things happen that you don't see coming. This guy makes it. This guy doesn't. Vice versa. All those things make it interesting. But I also have a great deal of respect and empathy for what these guys go through.
For sure. Absolutely. Jim, you want to add any question while we close here?
Hopefully it doesn't take too long. I mean, you've interviewed all these people. What would you, if you were to go back in time and go to your younger self and be like, hey, I'm going to be X, Y, and Z player, and I'm going to sit down and interview, not just about the game, but about everything. What would you tell him? How do you think he'd react?
You mean who would it be in history?
Anyone, like you go back in time back to your younger self. So younger you, like, hey, when you're older, I'm gonna interview Michael Jordan. What would you tell him, and what do you think his reaction would have been?
If my younger self would have heard that?
Yes.
You know, I'm glad you bring that up because it would have been overwhelming. I would have said, no way. I would have said, and the reason that I say that's a really important question is that when you get to be 61 and you're still grinding it out like I am,
Yep.
and you're still trying to stay on top of it and trying to win, you oftentimes forget, exactly to your great point that you made, how lucky you have been to have lived a life where you enjoy your career this much. And you need to go back to the kid when you were 16 years old, whatever it was, when you never knew what you were going to be or what you were going to do.
Right.
And if somebody would have said to me this is the way it's going to play out for you, I would have said, no way. You're lying to me. And there's no way that can happen to me, right? There's no way I'll be around those people and doing that job. And so that what I would say to my younger self is it's open to anybody. Anybody can do this. Anybody. And the first thing you got to do, younger self or 18-year-old kid sitting out there, is remove the stigma that says, oh, yeah, but I'm not good enough, or that's for somebody else. It's too competitive. There's not enough opportunities. You can't talk yourself out of it. The one thing I always said to myself, especially early on when you don't know how things are going to go and you're just starting in the career, blah, blah, blah. And people would say to me, well, there's not enough job. You know, back then there was no cable. It was just the broadcast.
Broadcast, right.
And I always had the same response. I said, well, somebody is going to do the job. We all agree with that, right? So somebody's going to have those jobs. So why should it not be me? Not why should it be me, but why should it not be me? Why should I disqualify myself from that just because the numbers say it's hard to get there? Somebody is going to have that job, whatever that job is. So why should it not be me? Not why should it be me? Because somebody's going to sit in that seat. Somebody's going to interview Michael Jordan. Somebody's going to do it. So why can't I? And then you start breaking down barriers and saying, you know, you're right. I'm looking at that person and their background isn't that impressive when I look at it. I'm not that overly impressed with what they've done. Well, I could do that. And you realize, many times you realize, first of all, you got more gifts than you think. For me, I had played sports in high school and college, and my dad was a coach. My brothers played in high school, college. I had a ton of sports knowledge compared to the people I was competing against. And I didn't even realize it. You know, I thought everybody that that was doing it had played sports. So I had this big leg up because I already understood what it was like to fail and to be in a slump. And what that guy was going through that you were about to ask a tough question to, because I'd been there, how bad it sucks when things don't go your way as an athlete and in performance related things. And so I started breaking those things down. And that's what I would tell the young person. What is it that you've got? First of all, you can't be intimidated by the competition. Somebody's going to do the job. Why not you? And then second, what is it you bring to the game? Because you probably bring something unique that other people don't. So how can you use that to wedge that in? And then the last thing I would tell that younger self is there's always going to be discouragement, and you're going to think it's a lot worse than it is. Don't let that bring you down, because the discouraging days, you're going to think these things are big deals. And then a year later, you realize that was just a small bump in the road, which is what most of them are for all of us in life, right? We think we got this monumental. No, it's not. And a year from now, this will seem like nothing, and you'll have to think about it again to even remember it. But if I have a regret, it would be that I got too caught up sometimes in those little things, right? Where you go, oh, this is the sidetrack. This is the end of it. This is, I'm done, blah, blah, blah. And the truth is I wasn't done. There was something, I have a spiritual side to me that God had a bigger plan for me too, right? Or he had a different plan for me if I just listened. So those would be the things I'd tell a younger person.
Thanks. And you kind of alluded to this, and I don't know how much time we have left, but you can take as much as you need. What you kind of answered this. What drove you into being a reporter to interview people? Was it just a favorite teacher? Was it your parents?
Another great question. I was majoring in business at Hamline University, and I took a class, an optional broadcast class at St. Thomas, because you could take them at, they call it the consortium if they don't offer it, but your school, there's other schools you can take it at.
Sure.
So I took it. A professor named Mathy Cantor said, you really seem to like this. It was the production side of television. She said, you should try to get an internship. I didn't know internships even existed, right? I didn't know anything about anything. Well, I banged on doors. Nobody would take me in except for Channel 4, WCCO TV in Minneapolis, downtown Minneapolis. And I've been going through that same door for over 40 years now. But that started as an internship because she saw in me that maybe I had a passion for this. I took the passion. I didn't know what I was going to do with a business degree, right? I may sell insurance. I didn't know. I just thought that's what you do.
Sure, right. That was the natural sequence.
Yeah, I didn't have any passion for it. I just thought it was the sequence,
Yeah.
right? And all of a sudden I said, you can actually have a job that you have a passion for. So I got the internship. Long and short is that turned into a job because the Twins went on a World Series run in 1987 and they needed help producing. So I got in as a freelancer, and the story is too long to keep it short. But that's how I got through the door, and that's how I got things going. And once I realized that, but the reason that it works for me as I look back now is I'm good at short-term deadlines. I'm not good at long-term, meaning I was the kid in school that if I had a finals test on the 15th of April, I'd start studying on the 14th, right? I didn't have that in me where I could just, it was boring to me. And so, but with short-term deadlines, for us, it comes to the form of the 5, 6, and 10 news every day. You have to get it done. There's no choice. Either you get it done or you get fired. Okay, that's all I need to know. They're small segments, right? You go boom, boom, boom. I can get through that day every day. So that was a great way for me to operate because it plays to, again, my ADHD to an extent. Then I like sports, and the number of stories that you can get through sports is incredible because they provide you with so many great stories. And then by nature, I'm really, really curious. I really am interested in how this podcast works. What's the goal? Who are you serving to? Whoever I'm with, I find people to be fascinating. Sports just provides you with people that have even more interesting stories. I say sports is like life on steroids.
Okay.
You know, because you're always, it's always boom, boom, boom. Let's go now.
going.
Yeah.
Juiced up.
And that's why sports works well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that encapsulates so much, Mike, in just understanding your journey and also understanding everybody's journey, like especially for the youth that is, watching this on YouTube, on CCX, channel 20 cable. So I'm really excited just for people just to listen to your words, because I think this is very powerful. The message that you're laying down some gems here.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you guys inviting me on.
Absolutely. Thank you. And yeah, we'll close here. Thank you, Jim, for joining us live from Green Bay.
Anytime.
Skull Vikes, right? Skull Vikes in Green Bay. Go Cubs, and also your Red Sox. How they doing?
Yeah, no, just no. I mean, they're doing good.
Good five. Ooh. Well, the Twins, they won.
Byron Buxton hits home run, and then Martin hits home run. And they come back and beat the Red Sox at Fenway.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I was not happy about that.
It was 4-0 after the first inning. Red Sox were ahead. I thought this thing's over. Here they come.
Here they come.
Yeah.
Don't look at them now. I mean, hey, and again, I'm gonna follow Royce Lewis because I think the Saints are in town.
Yeah, they are right now.
They're
yeah.
playing Omaha, I
Yep,
believe.
yep.
Yep.
He had a home run his first at bat back, but I think he's like 2 for 7 in 2 games, whatever it is that he's been back.
Okay. Awesome. And the Saints are they still pretty like friendly in regards to like
Yeah, very
Talking
friendly.
to
And
them.
it's such a great stadium too to go over.
yeah,
Yeah.
CHC Field. Well, I hope everybody has a safe Memorial Day weekend. But here on the 94 podcast, until next time, we'll see you at the TOP, and we're out.